Hello, everyone. It's Cacti Man. Uh, when I first started growing dragon fruits, I remember one of my biggest problems was the summertime season. I remember I would be super, super worried about sunburn and having my plants get scorched and getting, damaged and rotten. So today, I want to share with you guys a few methods and strategies that you can use to protect your dragons from growing in the summertime. And also, I want you guys to understand at the beginning of the video that, summertime brings sun, sun brings high temperatures, and temperatures are going to burn your dragon fruit plants. Unless you have the best setup in the entire world, you're going to experience some sunburn. For the best dragon fruit growers I know get sunburn on their plants. It's just a thing that happens. And you might see pictures online of people's plants being pristine and perfectly in good condition. You know, but those are the best of the best. Most of the time, you're gonna have plants just like mine with a whole bunch of scarring, a whole bunch of rust. Well, this is actually cleared up, so. But yeah, you know, we all grow our plants differently. We all have different situations. Unfortunately, I don't have the best climate for growing dragon fruit, so I have some issues with dragon fruit growing. But you do what you can, and that's all you can do. Anyways, so I have around, I think, 4 methods off the top of my head that you can do to protect your dragon fruit from shade. And obviously the first one you can see here is burlap, right? So before, I bought I think it was a 50-foot pack of burlap from Amazon, and it was really, really messy. Like the little fibers would constantly go into the air and be a breathing hazard. And now I just went to my Home Depot and I bought this natural burlap from the brand Vigoro, that common garden brand, and it seems to work pretty well. The pros of having burlap is that it's really cheap compared to the other methods. I think I bought this roll of burlap, which is about like 36 feet. No, yeah, around there for $13. So it's pretty inexpensive. So that's one thing for it. Two, it's pretty lightweight, so you don't really have to worry about putting it on top of your dragon fruit plants. As you can see that it's holding up the burlap just fine. Some cons about using burlap is that, even though it might be readily available, it might not be the best protection in the whole world. As you can see here, I have one layer of burlap on top of my plants, and before, as you can see there, I have some sunburn right there on my plants. And it was actually worse before I put the burlap. But I put this about a week ago, and it seems to be consistently the same or even going down a little bit. So, I mean, this stuff works. It gives it shade. But even though it might work a little bit, it might not work as well for your more sensitive plants. So before, right now I have 2 layers on my Asunda 3, but I only had 1 layer of burlap before. And I got some pretty gnarly sunburn damage, as you can see there. I'm gonna have to cut that off later. So I went ahead and I doubled up the burlap, and now it seems to be doing a pretty good job of keeping it shaded. But yeah, just make sure you're using the right amount of burlap so that you can protect your plants as much as possible from the sun. Because what was I gonna say? So burlap, it lets some light through, and which is, a lot of people think that dragon fruit are full sun plants, but the truth of the matter is that they're just not. In their natural habitat, they grow either at the base of a tree or even in the canopy of a tree, so they're constantly in shade. Full sun is not what dragon fruit like or even need. Some of the best dragon fruits I've seen, plants like my grandma's over there, they grow in full complete shade. Those plants over there almost never receive sunlight. I say as they're almost fully illuminated, and those plants look fantastic. Even though they might grow a little bit slower, I don't think it's worth having them in full shade, because that's just not what they like, and you're gonna have a lot of problems when it comes to full sun, especially in the blistering heat of Southern California like me. But yeah, so burlap pros: inexpensive, easily available, easy to use. Cons: bad when it gets wet. Very lightweight, so you might still have some light coming through. You might have to double up or even triple up. And yeah. Oh, another con is that it might, you might get the but be worried that it suffocates your plants a little bit. So as you can see, it grabs onto these thorns pretty well. So you gotta, really be vigilant in putting on this burlap, or else you might damage your plants a little bit. But yeah, you got Buddy to help you, and it should be pretty straightforward. The second method that I used to use, I think 2 seasons ago, was I used to get a shade umbrella just like that. It worked pretty well in shading my plants, but the only thing was that it was a pain to constantly put it up and bring it back down when I wanted the plant to have more sunlight, because those umbrellas give off pretty good shade. As you can see there, it might even reduce the sunlight by more than 50%. And you don't want your sun or your plants in complete darkness. So what I would do is that during the hottest part of the day, I would put up the umbrella, put it full canopy, and I would surround my plants, or put it under my plants would be under here basically. And it worked pretty well for the most part, but during the morning I would have to bring it down and then put it back up during the hottest parts of the day, and it got pretty annoying after a while, especially since this comes down like that, so it might touch your plants a little bit when you're putting it up or bringing it down. So it was a hassle. It was really heavy to move it, my plants from under and out of the umbrella. So pros of the umbrella is that it works pretty well, and then cons, there's just really one pro, I think. Cons is that it's constant maintenance. It could be pretty expensive. I think I bought mine on Amazon for $50. Another con is that it's pretty fragile. Once the wind starts to pick up, it might break the brackets of your umbrella, and then you've got a useless umbrella. And also, it had issues during the rain. When those rare summer rainstorms, it would get soaked and it'd be almost unusable. And then eventually got holes in it for some reason, so I just completely scrapped that idea. And I started using burlap, which works pretty well so far. A third method, which is probably the best for your plants, is to obviously plant them at the base of a tree if you can, like over there. You know what, I'll say that for last, because most of the people who are growing dragon fruit are going to have them in pots like this. So the new third method is using a shade tarp. So I've seen them put up like a kind of like a shade sail for their plants, and have them all under there, and have the shade completely controlled. So pros of that is that you can have complete control over how much sun your plants get, because you can have different percentages of shade sail. Second is that there's no maintenance. It's just gonna constantly be overhead, and if you want to get your plants, you don't want to have it on the shade sail anymore, you can just move them. And another pro is that it's out of the way. The cons with the burlap and the umbrella is that the burlap is sitting on top of your plants, so it might pose some problems if you had stuff like flowers growing. Where's my flower? See, I can't even find it. Like flowers like that growing, well, like right there, and like that, right? As you can see, I've lifted the burlap from the top of the fruit, so it can have proper sunlight and not be weighed down by the weight of the burlap. So the shade sail is completely out of the way of your plants, unless your plants grow really, really high. And some cons of the shade sail is that's the most expensive method. And not only is it the most expensive method, is that it's also the most, you need a lot of maintenance to be able to put that thing up. And most people don't have the room or the hardware to be able to do something like that. So that's that. And it's also, you might not get the exact percentage you want either. But yeah, the fourth and the final method, if you don't already have your plants in a pot like that, or if you're willing to move them, is to plant them at the base of a tree. And that's the most, I'd say that's probably the best method you can do for your dragon fruit, even better than the shade sail, because that's how they naturally grow in the wild. And that plant over there is almost blemish free, and look at it, it's huge. Even though it's an almost constant shade, those plants are enormous, and they're in great condition, and they're almost they have zero risk of getting sunburn. Um, it's just a natural way. That's just how they naturally grow, and they find it really easy to grow in that method. So if you're willing to take them out of the pot, which I'm not, and put them in the base of a tree and just let them do this thing, it might be one of the best things you can do for your dragon fruit in terms of growth and production. Like this one right here, I had this under the shade over there, but that proved to be, too little shade, and now I had all this, rot and rust and whatnot, and as soon as I moved it under the shade of this pomegranate tree, it just took off. And these new growths, they look really, really nice. As you can see here, they're just a little bit dirty, but I mean, dragon fruits love it. Like I said, they love shade. Here's some condo right here, which is, at least for me in my climate, notoriously difficult to grow because it grows so much rust. It has so much problems with it, and here it is in great condition at the base of this tree, as you can see. So consider that, guys. If you don't really care for the look of a pond, or don't really care what it's in, consider that. But yeah, if you guys were wondering how to protect your plants during during the summer, especially when you have a lot of plants and you're starting to get fruits and flowers like this, there's a few methods that you guys could use, and I hope they help you in the future. If you use them, let me know. Or if you have other methods that I didn't talk about, let me know too, and I'll be glad to discuss it with you guys. But yeah, happy growing, guys. Protect those plants. Have a good one.